Hi, my name's Kim J and I'm a volunteer for RNIB. I'm also a visually impaired chef, and together with RNIB I do cookery classes, Indian cookery classes in the Northwest. Now today I'm going to show you how to make smoked paprika chicken. It is really good. Very easy to make. You do this at least 12 hours to 24 hours beforehand because you need to marinate the chicken. Now, for the marinade, you're going to need a large carton of Greek yogurt. Now, that's about 500 grams. You're going to need about 3/4 to a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, about a teaspoon of lemon juice, a teaspoon of barbecue powder, and 4 teaspoons of smoked paprika. You'll need a little bit of vegetable oil and about a tablespoon of tomato puree. You're obviously going to need the chicken, so I've got you can have 4 to 5 chicken thighs here which have been skinned, and if you're vegetarian, like I am, you can substitute it for corn fillets, and those are the ingredients for this paprika chicken. Here comes the fun bit, mixing the marinade together. So very easy. It is literally just putting everything into the mixing bowl. So I'm pouring the Greek yogurt into the mixing bowl. The salt, so I'm putting approximately 3/4 to a teaspoon of salt in there. Again, this is to your taste, so if you like more salt, put more salt in. If you less, put salt less in. Chili powder, 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. So again, if you don't like chili powder, don't worry about it, don't put it in, because the flavour will come from the smoked paprika. I'm going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper in it. This is all going into this lovely yogurt. Now, I bet some of you are wondering how I can tell the difference between the salt, the chili powder and the black pepper. Apart from the smell, and if you've got colour, you can tell by the colour. I have all the spices in sort of containers, and I've used the tack markings. So on the salt I've got liquid tack marking and I've painted an S so I know it's salt. And on the chili powder it's got a lovely C, and if you read Braille on the other side, I have chili powder written on Braille, in Braille, and this makes it very much easier especially when you're using a lot of spices. Now, into this marinade, I'm going to put approximately a teaspoon of lemon juice, a teaspoon of the barbecue powder, and I know most of you are like, that can see, are sitting there thinking, God, she's not measuring. Well, I have a rough idea of how much to put in because I've made these dishes so many times. And again, it comes from experience and instinct. Now, in here goes the 4 teaspoons of smoked paprika. And to be fair, it doesn't really matter. The exact measurements in this dish doesn't matter. So a tablespoon of the tomato puree now goes in. And you mix this all together with about a tablespoon of oil. Now, for those of you who are watching your weight or watching the cholesterol, you don't need to put the oil in. It's not necessary. It helps to cook the chicken a little bit browner, but it really isn't necessary. Now, you mix together all those ingredients until they have blended really nicely. And the marinade becomes this sort of pink colour. It's a lovely pink colour. Now, the beauty with marinade is it tenderises the meat, and leaving it overnight makes the chicken really tender. So something like chicken thigh, it's brilliant for because it is slightly tougher than breast meat, and you can use breast meat in this, but it just tenderises it. And that is the marinade. Right, I've got the chicken thighs and I've taken the skin off, although you can get them without skin at the supermarket, or if you go to a butcher's, again, you know, get him to do it. Now, very carefully, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put slits, just tiny little slits. So it's basically just poking the chicken thighs every so often into the skin. And once I've done that, I'm going to put that into that bowl with the marinade into it. And you keep doing that. Now, putting these slits in allows that marinade to enter the chicken and to really infuse into it and making a fuller flavour. Now, if you're anything like me, and sometimes you forget, don't worry, it really doesn't matter if you miss this bit out, but it does make a difference. So if you can remember, do. Now, I put it into the mixing bowl and then you mix it together. Really, I get my hands into there because this kind of thing is tactile and it makes it fun. And you're mixing the thighs into that marinade and you're rubbing it in. Now, if you've got a large family and you want to put more chicken thighs in, because there's a lot of marinade there, you can do. Totally up to you. That's the beauty of stuff like this. You can add and take away the quantity quite easily. Now I've done that, I'm going to put this into the fridge and leave it for at least 12 to 24 hours. 24 hours is better. And just let it all marinate in. And if you're patient, 48 hours is even better. And just let it soak in. Now, you're dealing with raw meat here, raw chicken, any kind of raw meat. Make sure you wash your hands thoroughly afterwards, after every step, and that way there's no contamination. It's been 24 hours since I put the marinated paprika chicken in the fridge, and I've just pulled it out. I've put the oven on at 180 degrees C, and I'm now going to pull this chicken out and put it into a roasting dish with a baking parchment on it. Now, you can use foil paper. I prefer baking parchment with this dish because it stops the chicken from sticking to it. So just pull out the chicken, make sure it's still well coated, and place it onto the baking tray. Now, these are great as starters. They're even good as the main course. We say some naan bread or pita bread to go with it, a bit of salad, and it is just delicious. Now, if you're going to do it as a main course, what I would do is any sauce that is still left, just pour that on it. See, with a main course, you need a little bit of sauce with it, but if it's a starter, just take out the chicken and omit the marinade. Now I'm going to put this chicken into the oven for approximately 30 to 35 minutes at 180 degrees. It's been 30 minutes. Halfway through the cooking, I've just turned the chicken and I have just now pulled the chicken out. It is this lovely red, pinkish colour with speckles of dark brown in there, and it smells lovely. It is, like I said, amazing as a starter or just as good as a main course. There we go, succulent paprika chicken, tender pieces of flesh that just melt into your mouth. How do you serve it? You could do it with vegetables, but my favourite is with pita bread or flat bread. Turned into a sandwich with a little bit of salad, absolutely perfect. Now you have a recipe for a great dish. But when you're in the kitchen, there are certain safety guides and rules that you should adhere to, and which keeps you safe. Now, one of the things that I do before I start cooking is I make sure that I've got shoes on that are sturdy with good grips. I make sure that there's nothing on the floor that I can trip over, and there are no spillages or liquid or condensation on the floor that makes it a bit of a hazard. Now, before cooking, the first thing that you do, as we all know, is wash our hands thoroughly. And especially when you're dealing with raw meat at every stage, wash your hands thoroughly. It stops cross-contamination. It keeps you and your family safe. When you're using the oven and the hob, know your oven and hob really well. Now, I use tactile markings so that I know exactly what temperature to put the oven on and what setting, so that I've not put the grill on when I should be putting the oven on. Now, with the hob, whenever you're sort of putting anything on the hob, make sure the handle is not sticking out. Now, I like to keep the handle at approximately 10 to 12. And the reason for that is it's not near enough to the unit for you to accidentally knock it off. It is not over another hob which may be on, so the handle's getting hot. So this is the safest position. Now, if you're boiling anything, be very, very careful. Don't fill the pan up too much. And if possible, use the boiler alert, which tells you when that liquid is bubbling away and it's hot, and it keeps you safe. If you're not comfortable with the hob and the oven, use the microwave whenever you can. It's a lot safer. And every time you are taking things out of the oven or from the microwave, because remember, plates and dishes get extremely hot in the microwave, use oven gloves. Now, I like to use thermal oven gloves. They're a lot safer. Don't be tempted to use tea towels or anything else. And they literally go to extreme temperatures, so you're very safe with them. Whenever you cut any food in the kitchen, use safe cutting methods. Keep the blade away from your fingers, so set it a couple of millimeters away from your fingers, and that way you're safe all the time. Now, if you're not confident with a knife, you can use appliances like food processors. Make sure you know how they work properly, and keep safe. And if you're still not confident, ask somebody else to do it. It is better to be safe than have an injury. If you have any cuts or you cut yourself whilst you're in the kitchen, put a plaster on it. And if you have a burn, run it under cold water. And if it's bad, you seek medical advice straight away. Whenever you cook meat, always ensure that the meat is thoroughly cooked, because you know raw meat will give you food poisoning. Now, the best optimum temperature to cook meat is between 66 degrees and 73 degrees. Use a food thermometer if you're not too sure. They do have talking food thermometers, which you can get quite easily. And you store the meat as soon as you can. As soon as it's cooled down, store it straight away in the fridge and read the advice on storage on the labels.